So the Daily Mile. What I'm going to do is tell you the story of the Daily Mile, how it all came about. I'll tell you what it actually is. I'll explain a bit about why it works for schools so well. I'll talk a little bit about the research we have around the Daily Mile, where we are now, which is in a lot of places, how you can make the Daily Mile happen for your children, and our plans for the future. So I'll also be sharing with you some photographs, mostly from our Twitter feed, of what the Daily Mile looks like across the UK and beyond. And this is a typical photograph. These children are out in the fresh air together, and they've actually created a nice path for their Daily Mile, a nice child-pleasing squiggle of a path that goes through their playground. And one thing you'll notice, I hope, about our Twitter feed and about our pictures in general is that the children are smiling, and that is what it's all about. So the story of the Daily Mile. I was head teacher at St Ninian's Primary School in Scotland in 2012. And one day a school volunteer said to me, the children are not fit. And that shocked me actually a bit. And I asked our PE teacher, Marion, are the children not fit? And she said, the fit ones are fit, but this is normal. Most children are exhausted by the warm up in PE, and it's a huge problem. And I was very aware that we were in a sporty school. We were a successful sporty school, had been before I was head teacher. And I thought this was very, very concerning. And then I did a test which changed everything. I took a class of 10-year-olds out to the field to see if they could run round it without stopping. And what I saw shocked me. They were mostly exhausted by halfway round, and they could not keep going. Only the children in the running club and the football teams were running all the way round. So what happened next? The children took ownership, and looking back, that was really important. They wanted to do something about it. They knew, I don't know, no one had ever asked them to run around the field before. And the shock of discovering they couldn't do it made them think. And they wanted to do something about it. And so I proposed, out of nowhere, what about 15 minutes a day at your own pace, obviously with the agreement of their teacher. She was very keen. Out you go every day during class time and see what happens, build up your fitness, and see if you can run around the field. So they went out in their school clothes, no time for changing, no PE kit. Out they went every day for 15 minutes. And we thought we'd review it in 4 weeks, see what happened. I didn't think anything would happen. I thought I'll never hear of this again. However, within 2 to 3 weeks, we started to notice transformational change in the children. They were coming in bright-eyed, shiny, glowing with pleasure and health and fun, and we just couldn't believe the change. Also, how much more settled they were in the classroom. And amazingly enough, in the 4 weeks that we gave them, the Daily Mile was born. And I often say the Daily Mile created itself in those 4 weeks, because it was created in a large and complex primary school by the children, the staff. It just happened to us. And then very quickly after the Daily Mile was born in that one class, the whole school picked it up. It wasn't called the Daily Mile at this point. It was just the 15 minutes that they went outside. So what is it? What happened in that month to make the Daily Mile happen? And what does it look like? And there are core principles, because there are things that the Daily Mile is not. So this is what it actually is. It's physical activity in a social setting. It's not sport and it's not PE. It's really actually children getting to be children and being outdoors and childhood. Critically, it's fun. Always, always, always. We all know that that's all your answers in the chat were, it's fun. And that is vital. It's everybody. It's non-competitive. It's every child every day. No one's left behind, whatever their age, ability, or circumstances. Out they go and they do their own Daily Mile. And nobody fails. All the children succeed. School clothes, so no kit issues, of which there are many. Out they go in what they're wearing to school. They go at their own pace. In practice, I'll tell you how far they tend to go. But in practice, they run for about 10 or 11 of the 15 minutes and walk in between times for about 4 minutes. It's social. They have a chat. In Scotland, we call it a blether. They enjoy being with their friends. And it's a time, not a distance. It's 15 minutes. And it happens that in that time, most children average a mile or more. But it was always a time only. During class time, and that's vital. Sitting kills as well as not being active. And if the children are sitting for too long, it's really not good for them. This activity gets them outdoors in the fresh air, which is an added bonus. And there we go. It must be outdoors. Children need to be resilient, connecting with the Scottish weather and the weather worldwide and the seasons. And this is critical. It's really simple, and keep it simple. You can jazz it up a little bit. You can add some exciting little sparkles, but essentially keep it simple. Take the children out and run with them, or let them run. So those are the 10 core principles that make the daily mile the daily mile. And they were invented in that first month. So how far do the children run in 15 minutes? Well, the younger children, we discovered, and this is now, we know that this happens elsewhere. The younger children, half of them do a mile in the 15 minutes. 25% of them do more than a mile, and 25% do less. So that means that 75% of the younger children do a mile or more. And I'm talking 3- and 4-year-olds actually in our nursery were able to do a mile. And the older children, 90% of them do a mile or more. And obviously 10% do less, but there'll be a reason for that. But the children are out there in the fresh air, and most of them are doing a mile or more. Another picture, this is a Scottish primary school. These are older children, they're 11-year-olds. And that's the head teacher that's running with them. They've been doing the daily mile for 4 years, and it shows. You can see in the running style and the fitness of the children, and they will tell you all about it if you ask them. And just parents love the daily mile. These pictures are typical from our Twitter feed. Just this is what the daily mile looks like. Children outdoors together having fun. And one of the great benefits for schools is that parents absolutely love the daily mile, because they're the ones who see the difference in their children, the difference it makes, and they can tell us about the difference it makes to their children. I said I'd talk about some research. I'll be brief, but all of these are proven benefits of the daily mile. So we know physical activity, obviously, is of great benefit to us all, but these studies have all been done directly on the daily mile from universities across the UK and beyond, and it has all these amazing benefits. And of course, we're talking about children who are laying down their body for the rest of their lives here, so that their body composition is happening as children. And of course, the daily mile allows them to have their heart rate up and be out of breath every day, every child, and all these benefits come from that. And this is a slide from a piece of research done by the Universities of Edinburgh and Stirling. And the blue column is the school where I was head teacher, and the green column is the Scottish average. Now, we had no baseline, so in a sense, this isn't completely scientific, because we didn't know what the children were like before they started doing the daily mile. However, this was after 3 years. And so if we look at this, the younger children, boys and girls who were overweight or obese, in the school where I was head teacher, it's less, but obese is obviously much less. Overweight, older girls and boys, and obesity in older girls and boys. On every single measure, the school where I was head teacher, after 3 years, the levels of obesity and overweight children are significantly less than the Scottish national average. What I can tell you is that the school was a very much an average school in terms of demographic. And this was the slide that got the Scottish government sitting up and taking notice. They looked at that and they said, yes, we want to make this a Scottish national priority. The woman who gave us this quote is Britain's greatest ever Paralympian. She's now, I think, Baroness Tanni Gray-Thompson, and she's done the daily mile and she really likes it. She loves the way it's integrated into school so that children of all abilities take part, including those, of course, who are in wheelchairs. And this is a special school that do the Daily Mile every day. And this is the young people just after their Daily Mile, and their head teacher tells us that they always glow with happiness and fun after they've done their Daily Mile. They love it, and it's a critical part of their day. Public health are really interested in the Daily Mile because of the difference it makes to the children's health. And we have a lot of support from within public health across the UK. And one of the things they're really interested in is obesity levels. The Daily Mile works because it works for schools. Where are our children every day? They're in their schools. And that's why we're able to reach every demographic. And recent research from Imperial College London has found that unlike any other previous initiative, the Daily Mile at scale has reached those communities who are most deprived. So although there's uptake across all demographics, there's 25% more uptake in areas of deprivation, and that is hugely significant for the children's health. They're sometimes called harder to reach areas. So why does it work for schools? It works for schools, firstly, because the children enjoy it. You all wrote fun, as I said on the chat. They must enjoy it. I don't know if you've noticed, but children won't do 15 minutes of cardio. They just won't do it. They'll do the Daily Mile because it's fun. It's also cardio, of course. It's completely simple. Now, schools obviously do PE and sport, and that's more complicated, and that's great, absolutely great. But the Daily Mile enables schools to get children out of breath every day, get their heart rate up with no complications, with no fuss, just out you go. It's so simple. Everyone, absolutely everyone, every day. And I won't go into it, but we pretty much, without realizing it, removed the barriers to participation in physical activity. Girls enjoy it as much as boys. There's no kit, there's no equipment, there's no expertise required. Pardon me, it's just there. It fits right into the school day. So schools sometimes try to timetable it, sometimes they don't. Often it's just a case of the teacher, and this works best, the teacher takes the children out when they are needing to go and get some exercise. And of course, we know that children weren't designed to sit in a school for hours and hours. They were designed to be active, and it's really easy to do this. And this is really significant. It costs nothing. So we have a complex problem in children's fitness and obesity levels. And this is not the whole solution, but a lot of people believe it's a big part of the solution, and it doesn't cost a thing, not a thing. It's all free. So where are we now? Amazingly enough, in 2012, we were in one school in Scotland, and now we are in 80 countries, many of whom we have government level agreements and partnerships with. And over 3 million children running a mile a day. And I think I'm a bit of an amateur astronomer, and I think that's 6 times to the moon and back every day if these children all did the Daily Mile. And over 12,500 schools across the world. How can you promote the Daily Mile? You know, how can you take it to schools and to your various countries and organizations? Be aware of different audiences. Health is a really important audience, and public health are always trying to get into schools, always trying to connect with solutions. But parents also, and of course, critically, the schools themselves, and head teachers are absolutely key. Education departments and so on. People talking about the Daily Mile is really powerful. So, I mean, obviously, I started the Daily Mile, I would say this, but it's wonderful to have other head teachers, children, parents talking about it. And if you can get hold of people to talk about it and their experience, that's really powerful. Local politicians love a photograph with children running. No matter how often it appears in the press, nobody tires of it. So local politicians obviously are very interested, and the local media, print media, and also television and so on. Sports people are great. They've had a brilliant experience in sport, and they know that maybe half the children at school don't particularly have a brilliant experience of sport, don't particularly enjoy it, are not good at it. And so sports people are always willing to come and tell schools and people what sport has done for them, bearing in mind that the Daily Mile isn't sport, it's running around. But nevertheless, these people are key to influencing and inspiring others. Beacon schools, and by that I mean if you've got a good Daily Mile school who's doing it really well, people can visit it, and seeing is believing. And we did a lot of that at St Ninian's, people coming to the school. That's how INEOS, our wonderful sponsors, who are sole sponsors of the Daily Mile, that's how they got involved. They heard about the Daily Mile, their employees had children at the school, and they sent people along to see it. And they just said, yeah, this is it. We have great videos on YouTube. Interestingly, they're the same but different. The children, in some senses, all look the same everywhere. They're running, chatting, and smiling, but they're in different settings. But there are some great, if you put the Daily Mile into YouTube, you'll see lots of videos that you can share with people. Our website is great, full of information, lots of things that can be downloaded. And obviously, ideally, schools register and then they get lots of free things, and we keep them in touch with the Daily Mile. The research speaks to people really powerfully. So schools and head teachers love to hear about how it improves behaviour, focus, concentration and attainment. These are really key for schools. The happiness of children, all of these things we can prove that the Daily Mile does. Public health and so on, parents. Very often, in a sense, St Ninian's and the school where I was head teacher, we feel we proved all these things 8 years ago. The research just confirms it. You can see it in the children. You can see it in their faces. And campaigns, we've just had a wonderful campaign. We're privileged to work with Sport England, and they ran England Does the Daily Mile. Now, bearing in mind this is coming out of COVID, and COVID was the Daily Mile was really useful for schools during COVID because it was outdoors, you could do it in a bubble, and it kept going. And we were very glad to know and get a lot of communication from schools who told us that the COVID saved a lot of the children's health by keeping them running during the pandemic. So on the 30th of April, England, and if you go on our Twitter feed, you'll see this, England Does the Daily Mile was a wonderful day in nearly 2,000 schools. Over 500,000 children on that one day did the Daily Mile. And these sorts of campaigns, we're having one with Scotland in 6 weeks, Northern Ireland is quite soon, and Wales. And these sort of campaigns work really, really well. Children are all, and during them, you know, as well as running on the day, children love to run, for example, across the world to different landmarks, different countries, different places, and research them as they go. So there's lots of things you can do, but these campaigns work really well. And not every organisation gets the world's greatest ever marathon runner to run with children, but we managed it because obviously INEOS worked with Eliud Kipchoge to make the sub 2 hour marathon a reality. And we love to see the fact that he visits schools and does the Daily Mile. He ran as a child, his children run, and I'm not saying they'll all become Eliud Kipchoge, they won't, but they will all change their health and well-being by running, and we thank him for his support. And this is children running without Eliud Kipchoge. They're just running in their school with their teachers. Another benefit of the Daily Mile, teachers don't have to run it. They can if they want, but often they do. And that 15-minute running break can obviously be a huge benefit for staff, school staff, as well as the children. And our plans for the future, well, our plans are for the future of children. And so the Daily Mile is universal. It's for all children, everywhere. It's sustainable. That's a really critical thing. If it wasn't sustainable, if it only lasted a wee while and then was gone, it would be of no interest. The fact is that it's not only that there are short, medium and long-term gains and wins from the Daily Mile. So mental health starts on day one. And within 2 or 3 weeks, the physical benefits start kicking in. One of the things that I've actually forgotten to say is that the children need to do it at least 3 times a week. So I suppose the clue's in the daily. Try and do it every day at school, but a minimum of 3 times a week, because if they do it 3 times a week or more, they're able to do it easily and they enjoy it, and that makes it sustainable. So the Daily Mile is sustainable. It can transfer it can go to other schools, other settings. It works in mainstream, it works in special settings, it works in nurseries. So young children, our nursery for our 3 to 4 and 5-year-olds did the Daily Mile. And almost uniquely, at no cost, it's scalable. So you can have a school cohort, you can have a local authority cohort of schools, you can have a national cohort, and we can truly have a global cohort of children doing the Daily Mile, because it crosses climates and school cultures. Children live in different places in different settings, but childhood and children are the same the world over. They don't change. And the Daily Mile fits with children because it's really about childhood. And I say this is so important, because that's what this might be the most critical thing the Daily Mile does. The children are out of breath every day. When you do a survey of a playground after playtime and the children come in, across the country we've discovered about 20% of the children are out of breath. Their cheeks are glowing, you know, their hair's stuck to their head, they're out of breath. What about the other 80%? And the Daily Mile, in the most simplest way imaginable, gets children out of breath easily for schools every single day. And so therefore, everyone at the Daily Mile Foundation thinks that the Daily Mile should be an entitlement for all children, wherever they are in the world. And that's our plans for the future. And my goodness, we are working on it, 80 countries, maybe only another 80 to go. And we're getting there. And a key thing for sport and PE is that what I discovered in a sporty school was that many of our children were not fit. We were missing some of them, and they weren't fit enough to benefit from sport and PE and the quality provision. But the Daily Mile makes them fit for that. And it changed not just their health, but also their participation in sport and PE. And St Ninians became the most successful state primary school at the national cross-country and running championships in Scotland for over several years, and even up until now. So it translates into sport as well. I'm going to leave you with a very simple sentence from a child who loves the Daily Mile. And it's about friends. Interestingly, this child knows explicitly that it improves their health. And there they are, running in the rain. And that's the Daily Mile.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Elaine. That was
Thank you.
wonderful to hear for the first time from your own experience. The participants, please have your questions ready in the chat. So you can either have them in the chat, write them in the chat for Elaine to read, but we'll now give the floor to Patty. She will present, and then we will have a specific question and answers round at the end. So Patty, the floor is all yours. I can see the screen in full. It works really well.
Yep, okay, very good. So thank you a lot, Elaine, for your going through all the principles of the Daily Mile. That helps a lot, I think, and that will inspire a lot of us. My name is Patty Scholten. I'm a health scientist working as a program manager and project manager at JOGG. And JOGG is the executive organization of the Daily Mile in the Netherlands. And JOGG aims to create a society in which all children and adolescents can live, learn, work, enjoy themselves in an environment which fully embraces the healthy lifestyle. So JOGG advocates a local approach in which not just the parents and the health professionals, but also the shops, companies, schools, local authorities join hands to ensure that young people remain at a healthy weight. And just to show you, just to give you an impression, already 170 municipalities and around 41 partners have joined our movement. So that's really great. JOGG focuses on 4 specific themes, namely drinking water, undertaking physical activity, eating healthy, and sleeping well. So for this webinar, we now focus on physical activity and specifically in the school setting. And it's really needed because only 61% of all children aged 4 to 12 years old complied with the exercise guideline following the latest statistics. So we have a lot of work to do. Now, you can endorse physical activity in different ways in schools. As you can see on the screen, by learning in motion, Elaine already told us, by PE lessons, designing the environment in such a way that it tempts you to move, for example, here with desk bikes, and you can do the daily mile. That's what we are talking about today. The daily mile started in the Netherlands in 2016, and since then, 445 primary schools with around 50,000 children take part. That's a big success. So we are very happy to show these numbers to you. And now I actually want to show you a clip of a school teacher Marjolein. She is running the daily mile 4 days a week with the pupils. And I think it's good just to have an impression of how she thinks of it.
Hello, I'm Marjolein Ruhl and I'm a PE teacher at the 7 Montessori School in Amsterdam. We're doing the daily mile for 3 years now and we really like it. What I see is that the children need someone. The children need to have a free mind. Because during learning, it's all about getting info into the mind, and it's good to run to get the mind free. And what I see is that the teachers will look at the children and look what they need. And then they think about, okay, what's the best time to start? What's the best time to run? Sometimes we're doing daily mile and sometimes doing spelimile. Spelimile is a regulated game for 15 minutes. It's a nice variation on the daily mile. What you see is that the kids are getting fitter and they are closer to each other. They encourage each other, and that's nice to see. What we also see is that some teachers run together with the kids and some teacher encourage the children. That's what they like. And that's okay. Everything is okay. Because it's important that the teacher feels well about it. What I will say is that everything we do with the daily mile, we really like it. And what we see is that we try to do the bingo card from the daily mile. And the children love it because then they can they can try and set the I don't know the word, but that doesn't matter. And they see, whoa, we did 5 times daily mile. And they love it. I don't know how to say, but they love it really. And what I see is that the teachers don't need me to start with the daily mile because they are stimulated by the enthusiasm of our children. That's very important, I think.
Yes, very nice clip of Marjolein. Yeah, she's a really enthusiastic teacher. So that's nice to hear those enthusiastic words. And as you could hear, she was referring to a bingo card. That is one of the tools we have developed, which teachers can use. And that's not the only tool. Because over the years, we have developed several tools to motivate schools and children to start or continue the daily mile. The first thing is the starter package in the left side, which includes a book written by Christine Groenhout about a teacher Ollie and his class. There are stickers, flyers for the parents, a flyer for the school, a big poster, so that everyone knows we are doing the daily mile. Our school is running the daily mile. And after 6 months, a school can ask for a keep on going package. A few things that are included in this package are the bingo card, multiple ideas to keep the daily mile fun, and a few stickers for the kids. And the bingo card includes all kinds of variations that can be used during the daily mile. And examples are waving to every person that passes by, or walking the route another day. So all kinds of variations. And when children complete all variations on the bingo card, the school has a chance of winning a play set with a value of 2,500 euros. So that's very nice. It's from our partner Compound. We'll tell you later a bit more about them. And we receive a lot of positive reactions on those materials. So it's not necessary. You do not need anything for the Daily Mail, but it makes it even more fun. And next to the experience of teacher Marjolein, yeah, we have a lot of successful Daily Mail stories, but I want to share one more story, the story of teacher Babette. During the lockdown, during the COVID-19, during the lockdown, she started to realize how important it is for children to go outside, continue moving. So she started the Daily Mail, not only because of being outside and moving is good for the kids, but also because of the Daily Mail is very valuable and nice activity, nice social activity. So she is doing the Daily Mail together with a group of 25 children, 4 times a week. And she said it's an ideal activity after finishing math class, because they calculate the total distance they walked together as a group using a kind of old-fashioned measuring wheel. And so in the first place, she said the Daily Mail is used as a social activity in their school. Many of the children like to start the day relaxed by talking to each other, running together. And in this way, the day starts with a positive feeling. All children are starting with a smile on their face. So starting the day with a Daily Mail brings more benefits. One more example, Babette uses running as an example when she wants to talk about perseverance, or when a student has difficulties with the math task. She said, remember that you walked an extra round this morning, even when you were tired. That's what we call perseverance. So that's, I think, a very nice other successful story of the Daily Mail that I wanted to share with you. Okay, now next to the primary schools, we also have 100 companies that take part. So during the COVID-19 times, most of the employees in the Netherlands work from home. And for that reason, yeah, people move less than they used to. We heard stories from one of the biggest banks, the Rabobank, and one of our biggest insurers, Unive, that employees are running or walking the Daily Mail together with their children. So that's actually achieving 2 things in one single action. So we were very happy to hear about that. And we give the company support by sending them newsletters full of tips, tricks, articles about healthy lifestyle. We may have made a podcast, also very nice to listen to when you are walking the Daily Mail. And we have made a couple of videos together with a neuroscientist, a very a real prof in the Netherlands, and he is JOGG ambassador. It's Erik Schedder, which companies can use to make all employees enthusiastic to do their Daily Mail. Now I will show you one of those videos because it's he is so enthusiastic. You become instant happy. So it maybe needs some time and maybe there's a little delay.
There is ample evidence that shows that exercise can really strengthen your mental and physical health. So, the Daily Mile is a wonderful solution. It takes only 15 minutes a day, and you can really have a grip on your own health and your future for many, many years. So, do it.
Yes, and this is just one of the 3 clips we have made. So 1 clip to start, 1 video to start, 1 video like keep it going, and 1 video make it a lifestyle. So companies can use all videos depending on in which state they are. Now, we are very happy that so many schools and home workers take part in the Daily Mail, but we would be even more excited if the Daily Mail could also be implemented at nurseries. Elaine already told that is a common thing in the UK, but in the Netherlands, right now, only 2 nurseries walk the daily mile. So we can do something about it. And for that reason, a pilot study is started this year, actually today, yesterday, on Monday, and which investigates whether the daily mile is a good activity for children between 0 or 2 to 12 years old that go to the nurseries or after school care. And 50 locations take part. And if the daily mile is a success, also in the Netherlands, a starter package for those locations will be developed, like same as for the primary schools. And yeah, we are very curious about how this pilot will continue. So yeah, nice things to come, I think. And one other thing, working together with partners is one of the key to our success for the daily mile in the Netherlands, we can say so. An example is the Avondvierdaagse. That's a national event and tradition where children walk for 4 days. Almost all children in the Netherlands are joining this traditional event. And they can choose if they walk 2.5, 5, or 10 kilometers a day. And within this collaboration, we motivate children to go for a structural walk every day. So also before and after this national event. And we also work together with the Royal Dutch Athletics Federation. We join forces so that children move more, like they do with the daily mile, but also in a better motoric way. So together with them, we have made variations on the bingo card, for example. Then we have our partner Compan, that's the #1 playground equipment supplier. They support us in campaigns which stimulate children to run the daily mile. But they also stimulate us with the prize the schools can win of the week. Moreover, JOGG works together with the Mulier Institute. That's the institute which helps us with which has helped us with an effect study in 2019. We investigated whether the daily mile is an effective intervention to increase the condition and concentration of children, and the results were very positive. So we were very happy. So yeah, we can now, as Elaine already told us, research is very important to engage people. So that's very nice. And together with NL 2025, we started the daily mile for companies. NL 2025 is a platform in which CEOs and leaders undertake action based on the paid forward principle. So for a better future of the Netherlands. And for, of course, do not forget our partnership with the European Mile, which brings me to our plans for the European Mile. In the run to the European Mile Day, that's on the 5th of June, we will start an activation campaign on all our social media channels that are connected both to the Daily Mile and to JOGG. So these channels include, as you can see, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, our newsletter, our websites. So now we will actively call all readers to walk 1 mile on and around the European Mile Day. Yeah, and if we want to inspire people and making them enthusiastic to come into motion and go for their mile a day, we need inspiring content. So through the year, we plan to feature around 4 to 6 good practices that include schools, companies, all kinds of people who walk the daily mile. So we will make a short movie on a primary school where the children are running. We will do that also in one of our pilot daycare locations. One of the locations, they planned to start the pilot by walking in fruit outfits. So for example, in a strawberry outfit, we think that will get very adorable photos. So it's nice content to have. And we will also do that at the toddler 4 days. And we will interview some people, some school teachers, but also the people from the Rabobank, so from the biggest companies. And we will share quotes. And do not forget, we will promote European Mile within the international network, which JOGG coordinates. The youth health community, that's the former EPOT international network. And this community brings together programs, partners from around the world that work to promote a healthy weight for a healthy youth. And so this community will promote the project and the European Mile among its members. Now, a lot of things to say. I hope you have enjoyed the glimpse I gave you about how JOGG inspires every child to move every day. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Or if you want afterwards more context on the Daily Mile, for example, or on the youth health community, this team you now see on the screen, they are very happy to come into contact to you. So thanks a lot.
Perfect. Dank u wel. Thank you so much, Patty. If you could stop the screen sharing as well, that would be nice. And then we can go for the questions. We already had one question by Jakub in the chat. So if you're fine, Jakub, I would ask you to unmute and ask the question directly. And everyone else can also either write the questions in written format in the chat or raise your hand so I could give you the floor. So Jakub, could you go forward with your question, please?
Yes, we'll be happy to do so. So thank you, Patty and Elaine, for presenting the initiative. I am from Poland, so that might be a part of the reason why I'll be asking that question for some. Well, my question was, what is the biggest obstacle for the new schools and kindergartens possibly joining the Daily Mile initiative? And as I mentioned in the chat box, are those excuses different in different countries, settings, or they're pretty much the same? If you could kind of elaborate on that a little bit, very thankful.
Shall I answer that, Patty? Well,
I think you can both give your answer. So maybe Elaine first.
Okay. I mean, I understand, Jakub, why head teachers are hesitant. You know, what is this thing, the Daily Mile? People are always wanting to implement things in schools. You know, try my initiative, you know, this is the best one. So as a head teacher, I would have said, you know, I want to know more about this, but I'm not necessarily going to implement it. So I think really there are two things. What is it? And if people don't know the benefits, then why should they implement it? So letting them know the benefits is really important. And the other thing is, the curriculum is very precious and it's only 25 hours. And you know, the Daily Mile takes an hour and a quarter out of that curriculum. And sometimes people think we don't have time for the Daily Mile. And what I would say is, once they see the benefits, those are the best 15 minutes that they can spend in the school. So, you know, I think it's a case of seeing it and seeing the benefits for the children.
Yeah, I agree with Elaine. I think I was thinking about the time excuse. So that's the thing that they say in the Netherlands as well. It will take us time, learning time, but then if they see the benefits, that children have a very better concentration, then they say, okay, it doesn't take time, it gives us time. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. If anyone else would like to ask their question out loud, please raise your hand and you can see the function at the bottom of your screen under reactions or write in the chat. So please keep the questions coming. And while I give you a minute to prepare those, I wanted to ask both Elaine and Patty, you emphasized on the research partners you have and, you know, showing really the impact of the Daily Mile. How do you approach these partnerships with the research institutions or universities? Are they interested in the Daily Mile, or would you go to them? How does this work, and what is the effect you see in communicating this evidence as well?
I would say that we have a research advisory group in INEOS, in the Daily Mile Foundation, but the universities have come to us, and that the first universities to come to us were the universities of Stirling and Edinburgh, and now I think we have 16 universities in our advisory group. So they tend to come to us, although the research at Imperial College was funded by the Daily Mile Foundation and INEOS.
Yes, and we are in a very lucky position in the Netherlands because a lot of partners or organizations come to us. For example, the Athletics Federation, they came to us like, wow, what you are doing is great. How can we cooperate together to not only make children moving more, but also motorical in a better way? So yeah, that's really nice that you become such a big project, if you can call it, so that it attracts a lot of people and a lot of companies that want to work together. But yeah, you have to make a start, but now in the end, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We have a question from Mons, so please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. My question is about, is it primarily PE teachers who offer to give these 15 minutes away, or are you also seeing teachers in other subjects ready to step in and give 15 minutes of history lesson to a run?
In primary schools, it's usually the class teacher who obviously has control of the day and the timetable and decides when the children need to go out. So in a sense, you don't take 15 minutes from another subject, it's just 15 minutes during the day. Increasingly, PE teachers also do it and take a lead on it, but essentially it's during class time, and it's critical that the teacher goes with the children and it builds relationships. There's a lot of good conversation, the language of friendship, getting to know the children with the class teacher. So PE, yes, but usually the class teacher, I would say. I don't know about Patty, what do you think?
Yeah, there's something additional. You need one enthusiastic initiator in the school. And most of the time, the initiators are the PE teachers. But then the normal school teachers have to take it over. So they have to cooperate, integrate it into their class lessons. Yeah.
Sorry, just unmuting myself. I see another question from Emma, our former colleague from the Netherlands. You can see the question in the chat, but I'll also read it out loud. Emma is asking that the main focus is for children from the ages of 4 to 12. Do you foresee a future for implementing the Daily Mile in high school? So for higher classes.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is it works extremely well in nursery with young children. We have children in the UK doing it from age 2. It works extremely well in primary. It's more difficult in secondary, but the need is the same. And I think when it works through, if children are starting at nursery and working through primary, then when they get to secondary, we can't close the door on them. We have to look at some sort of solution. Now, teenagers are different, and so we have to look at a solution that works for them, but we need them active every day, just the same as the younger children. And ideally, they need to be out of breath every day. So yes, we need to do something.
Yes, I totally agree with you. We need to do something. And in the Netherlands, I looked it up. I think 8 high schools are now running the Daily Mile, but it's a bit more difficult because in primary school, they are the whole day in the same class. And in high school, they are changing classes from, I don't know, from English to Dutch to, so that's a bit more difficult, but some teachers manage to do it. So maybe, Emma, you can check our website, or we have a couple of good practices also from high schools.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know the Daily Mile Foundation also has the Fit for Life campaign, so looking through all ages, across all ages. So that's something to keep in mind, physical literacy throughout the whole lifespan. Do we have anyone who came up with a last question? If not, then I would like to ask one more. And both of you talked about how the environment that we have around us and for our children as well is not making the healthy choice the default one, or actually promoting physical activity and every other kind of healthy choice. So do you think we need more of a stronger intervention when it comes to physical activity from the governments and from the systematic change as well? So if you could elaborate on that a little bit more.
Well, I think we do need, at government level, we need to take the physical activity agenda much more seriously. And I think people need an awareness that it's movement. It's not, it's just movement. You need to move more and sit less. And so government should facilitate that. And there's no doubt that COVID has brought that to the top of the agenda. That people realise that they're not moving enough. And I think that maybe the only good thing that will come out of this terrible, terrible pandemic will be more physical activity, but government should take it seriously and should be looking at initiatives like the Daily Mile. And there is a lot of warmth for the Daily Mile in various governments worldwide.
Yes, I totally agree. I always say prevention over cure. So yes, please, at all levels. So at school level, at all level, also the governmental level, we have to open our eyes and do something about it. Make the environment attempting to movement, eating healthy, all kind of things related to a healthy lifestyle.
Perfect, thank you. Prevention over the cure. That's the key takeaway from that session. With that, we have reached the end of our webinar. Thank you, Elaine and Patty, so much for joining and sharing your experience. We will share the presentation, recording, and all the contact details with both organizations to the participants as well.